Hello, my fellow Hulk fans. It's Jerry Rasco, and I'm here again to talk about another issue of The Incredible Hulk. Today, we're going to be looking at Incredible Hulk number 4, written by Stan Lee and drawn by the King, Jack Kirby. If you're new to the channel, thank you for dropping in. I appreciate it. Please consider subscribing. This series, where I'm reviewing issues of The Incredible Hulk, going all the way back to the origin in Hulk number 1. This series comes out every Wednesday morning, and if you subscribe, you make sure you don't miss any of those videos. I also have playlists where I've been doing the same thing with The Amazing Spider-Man, going all the way back to Amazing Fantasy number 15, and reviewing that series as well. So if you enjoy this content, think about subscribing to the channel. Not only will you get to see these videos about these comics, but you'll also get to see things like live art streams, updates on my individual projects, and if you are a subscriber, when we get to the 1,000 subscriber mark, you will be eligible to win for free this piece of Amazing Spider-Man art by yours truly, and this piece of Incredible Hulk art also by yours truly. Both of these can be won by one lucky subscriber when we get to the 1,000 subscriber mark. So please consider clicking that button. It helps me out, it helps the channel, and I really appreciate it. So without further ado, let's head over, let's take a look at the comic together. Let's see what we got. Okay, so here we have The Incredible Hulk number 4. So again, as I mentioned, if you have not seen my previous videos here on the Hulk, I do have a playlist with reviews of issues 1, 2, and 3. You might want to go back and check those out. There are details that happen within those beyond just the Hulk origin that we all kind of know, that lead us here into what's happening in this story. So there is some ongoing story plot to follow. I'll try to make sure we catch up as well, but I do recommend checking out those early episodes as well. So this cover is okay. It's not my favorite. I'm not a fan of the split cover. It is a thing of the time, and I think it's because a lot of comics of this time did have multiple stories in them for some reason. It's just, like I said, it's part of the time. We've seen it in the previous issues of The Incredible Hulk where it's broken up almost into chapters, like it was a combined anthology. I don't think, from what I understand, I don't think it was, but it kind of reads that way. And here we have sort of two, it's again broken into 2 chapters. The stories go together. You can't really have the second one without the first one, but to break the comic into half like that is a little strange to me. Also, I think you lose a lot of space. Obviously, there's a lot of the trade dress. That's what we call the title, the Comics Code Authority stamp, the wording telling you that there's 2 Hulk thrillers, that kind of thing. But then neither side of this gets the space that it needs. Like, the Hulk is breaking free of a machine and Rick Jones is in the background. Imagine if we had a full cover and you could make the Hulk much more menacing as he's breaking out of these restraints. That would really up the tension and would make you say, hey, I want to know what's going to happen. Then in this other one, same thing. This bad character, Mongu, the gladiator from space, has got Rick Jones in his grasp and this big axe. I'd like to see this character much larger and more menacing. Even with the Hulk in the foreground, we could make Mongu more of an intimidating figure or a powerful figure, and we're just limited on space. So it's just kind of thing for me. Not my favorite kind of cover. I think both images could be great as covers. I'd like to see them bigger. So we'll get into the book itself. And of course, as always, I want to point out this is a scanned PDF copy of the comic. So this is the actual comic from the 1960s specifically. This is 1962. This is what it would look like. So we're going to see these kinds of ads. We're going to see the paper yellowing. We're going to see that original 4-color, dot printing technique. So I really like this. It gives us a real sense into the history of exactly how this comic looked off the shelf. But I just did want to point out that back in 2007, in this case, Marvel did scan all these and then sold them on a DVD that you could use all in PDF files like this. So we jump right into some not action, but things are happening, which of course is always great to jump into the story. So we jump in and then we backtrack a little, then we catch up. This is a very classic Jack Kirby machine. So if you're not familiar with Jack Kirby, one of his, I think, strongest traits is creating this fantastical technology. It's taken me a long time to kind of figure out what is it that makes it Kirby, other than we just all recognize it as Kirby. And there's a few things here. One is that there's lots of odd angles to the machinery. So you see these pipes kind of going at odd, strange angles to each other, things jutting out, small, what I called doodads, circles, dials, knobs, extensions, whatever this thing is at the bottom, cables, none of them specifically recognizable, but all adding a level of complexity that reads to us on a psychological level as complicated technology. Then you also have, like I said, intertwined shapes. That's another Kirby staple of his technology. You see that up here is, again, these pipes, whatever this is. It almost looks like an engine in a way, right? With like manifolds or something wrapping around each other. So very, very classic. You'll see this if you follow Jack Kirby's career from here through the early 60s all the way through the late 70s. You're going to see this exact kind of technology design. So there we go. So the Rick Jones is doing some sort of experiment, some sort of a thing, something to the Hulk, and it's the only way to save Dr. Banner. And then we cut and we go back and we get a little recap of the origin from Betty Ross's perspective. Because I've been, for the past over a year, I've been doing my Spider-Man books. I keep wanting to say Betty Brant because that's a character there. But this is Betty Ross. And not Betsy Ross, but Betty Ross. And so this is from her perspective of meeting Dr. Banner, the Gamma Bomb. He saves Rick, and then he turns into the Hulk. And of course, it is retconned at this point that in these retelling of the origins, the Hulk was always green. As you go back, if you watch my episode number 1, you know that the Hulk was gray in that first issue and then changed very quickly in issue number 2. I should note as well, the inker. So talked about it in the past episode. This issue is also inked by Dick Ayers. So Dick Ayers was a veteran of the comic industry and had been working for a long, long time and worked with Jack Kirby on a lot of stuff. So friend of the channel and friend of mine, Nick Caputo, mentioned in my last video that around the same time on a monthly basis, Jack Kirby and Dick Ayers were working on the Fantastic Four, Journey into Mystery, Strange Tales, Tales to Astonish, Rawhide Kid, multiple covers, probably character designs for new comics as well. And so that's a lot of work to be done every, month to month. So one of the things we'll see in this comic is we're starting to see some consistencies in the look of the Hulk. They're starting to kind of nail that down and really, really lock in on how the Hulk is going to look from panel to panel. It's been kind of hit or miss up to here. There are a few panels throughout this comic where it's a miss as well, but it's becoming more consistent. So that's really good. I do really like here a couple of things on this page. I'm going to zoom in. This Hulk face right here, I think is great. And that's where, again, we're starting to see that dialed in where the brow, the shorter nose, the long upper lip, the thick bottom lip, and the wider face, like we see here, I think is really starting to come together. The Hulk is beginning to look a little less like Frankenstein and more like his own character. There's still a Frankenstein element to him for sure because of the head, like the flatness of the top of the head, and the torn clothes. But overall, they're definitely dialing in that design. Here's another example. This is really pretty strong there. And then the other thing here is so the military is developing this new missile technology to defeat the Hulk, and we get this sort of foreshortened image from the top down. Now, so Betty is coming to talk to her dad because she is smart enough to figure out there's some sort of link between Rick Jones, the Hulk, and Dr. Banner. And she goes to tell her dad about it, and he's busy with this new rocket testing. And so I like this foreshortened down shot of the rocket. It could have just been a zoom in, a close up of Betty and Thunderbolt Ross talking here and the missile in the background again. But I like the change of that angle so that we see that this is scale, that this is a really serious rocket. This isn't like a toy. This is a big military outing. So I thought that was really good. I think it's a nice choice there in the storytelling to change that angle up. So they shoot and they test. They have a jet-powered target or decoy that is built to look like the Hulk. And this missile goes and basically freezes him in place and crashes him down to Earth. And they think this is going to work. From a story perspective, here's my question. You took the time to build a Hulk-shaped target. The missile itself, from what I understand, doesn't matter. It could have looked like a plane. It could have looked like a drone. It could have looked like the Hulk. But why did you put rip purple pants? I don't think there's a visual detection built into this rocket. So I'm like, I don't understand what is exactly happening here and how that's all working or why. But anyway, they freeze the Hulk and this Hulk decoy or target, and they think it's a great success, even though the target can't fight back. So, okay, whatever. Again, some nice stuff. Lots of small panels. And again, this is of the time. So in these early 60s, you see lots and lots of panels on every page, very small panels. Again, kind of remnants almost, if you will, of the newspaper comic strip type of a thing. And so that's what we're seeing here. You've got General Ross, which I like this image of him yelling into whatever this is. I can't tell if it's supposed to be a phone, but it doesn't have a cord. Is it supposed to be a wireless radio? I don't know. He's giving orders, but for a profile, it's good. I like the jutting of the jaw. It gives an energy, even though normally profile shots are very flat. I did like that depiction of General Ross and wanted to point it out. Here's one where there was something about this Hulk. This is where I was saying the Hulk face isn't quite locked in. This one in panel 5 doesn't work for me. And I went back and forth a bunch on images that did. What's the difference between this and this? They're both sort of a 3/4 view. And I'm not entirely sure. I think it's the shape. This is much flatter. The profile, the side of his face is much flatter, where in this one, there's more of the sort of in and out, the jutting of the brow, the jutting of the cheekbone, and then the indentation to the mouth, whereas this is much more flat. I think the chin maybe is a little narrow, so if you widen that face out, and that might help. But again, it just, like I'm saying, we're not quite there yet, but we're definitely getting better. So the military comes, Rick. Oh, I apologize. I forgot. If you haven't caught up, at this time, the Hulk has been exposed to more radiation, and it has caused a link to happen between him and Rick Jones. So there's a mental connection there. So Rick Jones can command the Hulk mentally to follow his commands, as long as he doesn't fall asleep. If Rick Jones falls asleep or goes unconscious, then the Hulk is free. But in the meantime, the military's shown up looking for Rick Jones. They don't know the Hulk is there. He tells the Hulk to go away. The Hulk literally breaks through the wall of the shack or shed or cabin or whatever you want to call it where Rick Jones lives. So he smashes through the wall, takes off, leaps away. The military, on the other hand, next page, they're like, I thought I could have seen something, but nobody believed me. And you're like, you guys didn't notice there's a giant hole in the side of the guy's house? These army guys, these army MPs are clueless. It's just crazy. Ross reading him the riot act. I do like the very hard forward lean of General Ross yelling, and Rick. I would have liked to see maybe even a little more backwards, a little more body language of Rick being reacting to being yelled at like that. But it is what it is. One of the things I did want to point out, this is a nice thing that you see a lot in Jack Kirby stuff when he pulls the camera back. So when I talk about cameras, what I mean by that is the viewer's eyes are, the reader's eyes are our camera. Much like you would have a film or television camera, you can't, those move, right? So if you want to change the angle, you move the camera around while the actors are staying in place and acting. Here, we change the scene by drawing it differently and drawing from a different vantage point, and that moves the camera being the reader's eyes. So for example, this image of Rick is a close-up. Our eyes would be very close to him. If this was real, he'd be standing in front. The camera would have zoomed in on Rick Jones's face. Here, we've panned out. We've pulled back to see the whole office, the map behind, and then whatever this weird technology thing is in the foreground. But it's used as a framing device. So you have Ross here leaning in heavy. He's a large object. So you need something to kind of balance that other side of that panel. And so you have a nice foreground element. It helps us to get space. It overlaps the background, so you know it's closer to us, has nice, thick, dark contour line outlining it. That's another way you know that it's much closer. And so that's a nice framing device. You're going to see that a lot throughout this comic. There's things in the foreground that are just there to help give us a sense of depth and framing on the image. So now the Hulk has leapt away. He sees a school bus in danger and pushes the bus off. This is where, again, I said it in the last episode, I think sometimes Stan just sort of threw things at the wall to see what happened. The Hulk is clearly flying here. I know it says in the previous panel, it says he leaps powered by muscles so powerful that he seems to be flying. But you can see he clearly changes direction. So, and zooms down and still can, as he's jumping. So instead of landing like this, he's moving this way forward and has the ability to line up behind the bus and push it. So the Hulk is clearly flying at this point. So I guess my question is, did Stan tell Jack in the idea of the plot, hey, the Hulk can fly, why not? And Jack drew it as flying, and then Stan changed his mind and went, let's say he's jumping. Or did Jack just draw the Hulk flying, and then Stan had to kind of fudge it with the dialogue? I don't know the answer to that. It'd be very interesting to see. But it's clear at this point, we'll see a couple other examples. The Hulk at this point is more than just jumping around. He is flying. I will die on this hill that these early examples, they're trying to show the Hulk fly. So again, there's always some nice stuff in every panel or every page. The Hulk ends up on a movie scene. Of course, the nice reveal, he's standing behind the guy and the lady's screaming, and then he realizes, oh no, it's a monster. Back muscles are extremely difficult for some reason. They're hard unless you have a very good, like, professional bodybuilder. It's hard to have the definition on muscles so you can see each muscle group and how they interact. So back muscles can be difficult, especially as a character like this, he's lifting his arms up over his head and sort of flexing, but this is a great example. You have your shoulders, you have your upper back, you have down the spine, the muscles below. I don't know the names of all the muscles, I apologize, but I think this is a great example of a big, powerful character, and back muscles done very well. Simple, but well. So I wanted to point that out. But then you get down here and you go, what happened? Somewhere in this one, as the Hulk is asking for food, things went awry with this image. And like I said, that just sort of happens. And then here he this is the first time he uses his thunderclap. So if you're a fan of the Hulk, you know one of the things that he will do is use his massive hands and muscles, and he will clap his hands, and it creates both a sound, a sonic, boom kind of an attack, but also the concussion of the air as he as he claps his hands backwards will do exactly this and knock people over. So this is the first time we see it, and I do like this. It's a good pose of the Hulk with his arms up over his head. And I even like the facial expression, but again, the chin is too narrow. So when that chin comes down and it's narrow at the bottom instead of really wider, like you see like over here, his face is very wide. Here it's just sort of wide at the top and narrower at the bottom, and it looks strange. You lose some of this. The nose could be a little bit shorter here as well. So again, we're just little details we're dialing in, but we're getting there. This is another sequence that I kind of like, which again we'll see a few other times, which is you have the Jeep, and then we sort of zoom in a little bit to see over the shoulder of the drivers, and you can see the Hulk is coming in the rear view mirror because he's zooming in behind him. And then we zoom in one more time even closer to the mirror, and we see the Hulk in more details, definitely the Hulk. So that panel to panel action of shot, zoom in, we see, like I said, we see that kind of a few times, and that's a really nice story technique to use, especially for something like this. So I think that's a really nice sequence there. I like the whole thing. The simple little drawing of the Hulk is actually really, really good. We'll zoom in so you can see it, but yeah, this is nice. The shadow under the eyes, the short nose, just the very simple lines and shadow just to define because it's a small image, but it works great. So the Hulk is zooming in to get Rick and flies by and up and away. So again, you cannot tell me he soars through the air. You can't tell me he's not jumping. He's changing direction in the air. So you can't tell me that the Hulk is not, they're not trying to establish a flying Hulk at this point. So Rick is still in mental control. They get down into the lab, the secret underground cave lab they have where the Hulk can be contained if he needs to. And Dr. Banner had been working on some machine, but it's not clear what the purpose is. It was to hit him with more gamma rays. So I don't know if this was an attempt that Dr. Banner was doing to cure himself or just an experiment. It's not clear what it was or why more gamma would turn him back into Bruce Banner, but clearly, as you can see, it does. These last two images here on this page, this is very, very good stuff. The expression at the end is excellent. This is, again, really dialing into this early design, Hulk design. I think this is probably one of the most clear examples of it. The very short nose, the long upper lip, the heavy brow, the flat, short hair on top. These two panels are terrific. And see how wide that chin and jaw is. That's really important. So this is great stuff. In a way, there's a little bit of this face reminds me of the way that Art Adams draws the Hulk. So you can see, he took some inspiration all the way back to the beginning from this Kirby example. So this is terrific stuff here. I really, really like that. And now we're back to where we were at the beginning, which is Rick is going to expose the Hulk to the gamma rays in this machine, and he turns back into Dr. Banner. And I do like the fact, we see it again later, when the Hulk transforms back into Dr. Banner, the transformation clearly combs and styles his hair nicely, puts the part back in his hair, and combs it from his right to his left. So very convenient if you ever transform from monster back into yourself, that your hair is combed nicely. So good job. The transformation leaves him very weak. As I said, here's another one of these things, right? There's lots of technology, and here's just this weird tube or cable or something that again has odd angles to it, right? There's a strange bend. You could just make it a straight, 3-bend pipe or something, or a cord that kind of curls, but it's neither. It's got weird, strange angles. Again, more technology, overlapping shapes, lots of doodads that we don't know what they do, cables and wires and stuff, but again, very Kirby technology, and we're seeing it full bore here. So now Dr. Banner gets the idea, if he gets the right amount of gamma rays, he could have his mind in the Hulk's body. So he goes ahead and tries it. And again, very nice stuff here. This Hulk off the table, these last 3 panels, really, really nice stuff. I do like the fact that activating the machine and we're outside the room. So you just see the glow and it's happening off panel. Nice stuff. You don't have to show the whole transformation. But this is a really good Hulk right here. Big, thick eyebrows. Everything is in place. This is great. And as he's sitting up, perfect. Nice pan out to Rick and the Hulk as he's just sort of effortlessly snapping the restraints. I think that's great. Really good stuff here. I do find it well, we'll see later. Never mind. I was going to say, so Dr. Banner knows he's doing this on purpose, but somehow keeps was he wearing these bluish pants and decided, I'll just let the pants get shredded up when he transforms? Or did he put on a pair of shredded pants from before, being like, well, I don't want to ruin another pair of pants? I'm confused because there's no shirt, which makes you think he got in front of the machine shirtless because there's no scraps of shirt. This is the restraints, these belts. Interesting choice. Good stuff here. This is, again, nice movement of the camera, great lurching, again, sort of Frankenstein-y, but Monster Hulk really starts to work. This one here where he picks him up because he's all excited because it worked. He can think and he can, but he has the body of the Hulk. This is great. I love this shot. The hands, the big lumpy muscles. This is a really, really good image of the Hulk here. And the expression on Rick's face. It's like, yeah, he's saying it's cool, but you can tell he's clearly uneasy. And then we zoom out to see the Hulk, picking up a big piece of machinery, and then another great face. The key here, I think, I keep pointing it out, but anytime the Hulk is done with this wide face, it really helps with those proportions and makes it work. It adds the monstrousness that you're looking for without it being a weird, actually human face. It takes it out of, I guess, the uncanny valley. It's not human enough. It's still a humanish face, but it's not enough to go, it's not quite human, it's not quite monster. Clearly Hulk, monster, nice stuff there. I like the shadow. He saves his family, so he tears off the burning part of this house, saves the family, and he's all in shadow until they see him, and then they scream, and then they attack. Now, I noted from a story perspective, like here, he's very excited. The ray works. I have the Hulk's body, the Hulk's strength, but I can still think like Bruce Banner. I've arranged the controls so that I can work them myself. So he's speaking like Banner. He's eloquent to a degree, right? Now, as he moves over here, the more and more, as he, like, when the guy goes to shoot at him to chase him off, and he leaps away with Rick, he says here, save a man's family and they shoot at ya. Not you, ya. Whereas up here before, he's saying, Rick, you wonderful, loyal, da-da-da. Come on, Rick, we're taking off. Not taking, but again, something over here where he's saying, like, I can accomplish. Do you know what this means? I can do anything. But here he says, we're taking off. And the more he talks, the dumber he gets. So it's interesting that we're maybe leaning into that a little bit. The Hulk is clearly like, yes, there's a Dr. Banner element to the Hulk, but it's clear they're different. They talk different. They sound different. They have different motivations. And it's very interesting to see at first what's going to happen. So is it the longer he stays as the Hulk, the dumber he gets? Does he realize it? So yeah. So he mentions here it's very hard to control the Hulk when they transform. So it's almost, again, maybe like, is this Bruce Banner in a different body? Is Banner a different voice inside of the Hulk when he transforms? We're putting all these little seeds, or Stan is planting all these seeds to see what happens, right? And a lot of these won't come to fruition for decades, but it's there. And I think it's very exciting and interesting to see it as it all comes together. As he transforms, again, we see this here. He exposes himself to more gamma, so he goes from the Hulk to this in-between to Bruce. I'd like to see... This isn't very smooth. Like from Hulk to in between to Bruce doesn't, I don't know. It's not very smooth. You could see this could be a little different. We will see Hulk transformations that are way more detailed, that take us through the whole process. But for now, there we go. And so now we're seeing the Hulk as with Dr. Banner's brain. All right, so that's part one. I know it's been a while, so bear with me. So that's part one. We've established now that Bruce Banner can transform into the Hulk at will, and he has he can control the Hulk and has the Hulk's body in Bruce's brain. That's what's supposed to be happening. So now we have the second part, the Gladiator from Outer Space. Again, very Kirby-esque spaceship here. This weird landing gear that's way out front. The cockpit. If you have a cockpit, you probably want to see as much as possible, but there's extra like pieces and strange angles, strange shapes over the glass that would make it, in reality, more difficult to look through, but it does make it, I guess, look more otherworldly. And then we have this other thing, like I talked about, the panel to panel to panel sort of zoom in. So we're following this landing gear, and at first it's like, I suppose it's supposed to be maybe like a Central Park or something like that, and it's coming in and it zooms in a little closer to the people, then it zooms all the way to the grass as it lands. And then you have this great forced perspective of the landing gear that sticks out of the front being super up close to us and foreshortened and going off in the distance to the ship. Real nice angle there, something that didn't have to be done. Kirby didn't have to draw it that way. You could just draw the ship landing. It's perfectly fine. But this extra little bit really helps sell the scale of the ship, right? So pretty cool stuff. And then again, there's another one of these. It's not a zoom in so much. We zoom in a little bit of this hatch opening, and then we see this character Mongu pop up out of this hatch. So we're zooming in some, but it's again using the panels for pacing, moment to moment to moment, in a thing where somebody is, the hatch opens, he starts to come out, and then you see him all the way. So it's a nice way of using multiple small panels for pacing. Though sometimes it's nice to have more of a bigger splash or large area for action. But again, this is of the times, and at this time, as you can see, lots of panels is the way to go. I like this. So he makes a threat, hey, I'm going to come invade the world unless your strongest hero champion can come fight me. And if they beat me, we'll leave you alone. If not, we're going to invade your world. And I like this little where he's sort of shaking his fist at the humans as he reboards his ship. I think that's a really neat pose. That's a cool pose there of that. And then the ship takes off. So Dr. Banner realizes he's the only guy who can do it. And I put here, hey, we have Hulk shorts for the first time. So most of the time, the Hulk is known for his tattered purple pants. That is certainly what we think of when we think of the Savage Hulk. That's kind of the classic Hulk. But as you can see here, there have been some times where either Bruce Banner's been in control, or times when he's been stuck as the Hulk or whatever. And the idea is like, hey, all you have to do is, if you're going to transform at will, a little pre-planning doesn't hurt, and putting on some stretchy trunks might be a way to go instead of shredding all of your clothes all the time. So we see that here, and it works, and it makes a lot of sense. And I think this is the first real attempt between making the Hulk smarter and putting him in the trunks to make the Hulk more of a hero and less of a monster. This will be an off and ongoing trend throughout the book, throughout the history of the book. Sometimes the Hulk is a hero, sometimes he's a monster, sometimes he's something else in between. But I think this is the first attempt. And like I said, I feel like Stan was throwing a lot of stuff at the wall to see what stuck. We've seen the Hulk as Frankenstein. We've seen Jekyll and Hyde. Now we're going to see more of almost like I'm going to say like a Shazam. So if you're not familiar with Shazam, Shazam is a now a DC product, but it's a character who is a boy who can change into a mighty adult hero and back. So is this kind of that sort of thing? Hey, I'm going to take the mink scientist, turn him into a superhero with a new body, new persona. I feel like that's kind of what we're seeing here. Even more dialed in on the Hulk. This image is awesome as he's kind of squeezing his way through this door and telling Rick he's going to need him to come with him. This is an excellent image here. Really nice. The scale, the broadness. I like the turn of the head, and the overall shape of the face is excellent. So really good. They apparently rent a jet. So A, who's flying the jet? Does Rick know how to fly a jet? Does Dr. Banner know how to fly a jet? Where did they get the money for the jet? Did nobody notice that it's the Hulk? Or did they rent a jet to a kid? Like, I'm very confused by this jet. Why you don't just have the Hulk jump to meet the bad guy at the Grand Canyon, I don't know. Oh, one more story thing here. Mongo, the bad guy, he mentions two things that struck me. Now, I haven't read this comic in years, so I had forgotten, the details. So I was reading it to make my notes, kind of for not the first time, but the first time in a long time. And this got me right away. This alien from outer space comes, tells everybody we're going to conquer your planet. I'm so powerful, I can hold this 2-ton axe in one hand, and you need to send a champion, and I'm going to wait in the Grand Canyon for you. Now, you could argue, why does the alien speak English at all? But why would he know a reference like tonnage? Like, why would he measure his axe in tons like we do? And B, why would he know that this area of the Earth, we call it the Grand Canyon? I don't get it. So that kind of tipped me and went, something's up, which obviously it is. So the Hulk and Rick land, and it is a trap. It's a fake. The axe is not 2 tons. It's fake, and we'll see on the page turn what's going on. But I did want to point this out. This is something that I didn't like. It's not really a full tangent. So a tangent is when you have 2 objects that maybe are at different depths, but the edges of them line up so perfectly that it's hard to tell which one's in front, which one's behind. That's why one of the best things you can do to create depth in your illustrations is to overlap. That way, our brains automatically know if this is obscuring this, this must be in front. Our brains tell us this. So the Hulk's head is in front of the axe, but there's something about this line right here that I don't like. And I don't know if it's because the axe is strange shaped, so that it could have like a cutout. It just reads odd. It doesn't read as well as I think it could if the Hulk is overlapping the axe. And I don't know why you need to do it. I mean, other than to make it clear this guy's not real little and the Hulk isn't real big, but there's other ways you could do it. Here's how I would have done it. I would have moved the Hulk's head back some so that there's a gap between the axe and his forehead. Then I would have done his hulking big bunch shoulders coming down from his neck here because we're looking over his shoulder. And I would have had the shoulders overlap the bottom of maybe the axe handle and maybe the hip of the bad guy, that's where I would have done my overlapping instead of this axe blade, because it just reads odd. Like I said, it's not a true tangent in the strictest definition of it, but it does read strangely. So then we get to our page turn and we find out, aha, Mongu is not real. He is not an alien from outer space. It is a robot of some kind, like a robotic shell with Russian agents inside of him. And these guys are all Russians trying to capture the Hulk so they can reverse engineer him to make an army of Hulks. One that tells me, like, why are you bothering? The Russian robotics are freaking incredible, that they can make a lifelike robot suit that people could go in, just make battle armor. Like, you're halfway there. You're more than halfway there. It's awesome. But I do like the page turn. So this is one of the things that's very important. When you want to have a reveal of something that's going to happen, a big shock, a twist ending, a surprise, somebody popping up, or, whatever, this is the best way to do it. Finish your page and then do it on a page turn where someone can't see what's happening next. That's the best way to do it. So, because if you do it the other way, where it's on the opposite page, your eye is going to stray over there and it ruins the surprise. So this is a great way to do it. A lot of classic Hulk fighting. He uses his strength and his legs to stomp and create, essentially shockwaves through the ground to knock everybody over. He's crushing guns in his hands. They throw a grenade at him. He catches it and nothing happens. This is, again, another great series. This little, like, 1, 2, 3 issue of he catches it, it explodes, he opens his hand, there's nothing but dust. It's great. Each of these Hulk figures in and of itself is very nice. Unfortunately, none of them are exactly the same. The head shape changes from image to image, from panel to panel. The amount of hair changes. It's, again, I would like a little more consistency. They're all good in their own right. But again, just trying to dial that in. This face over here is good as well. It's a little soft for a Hulk that's maybe supposed to be mad. But again, I like it. I do want to point this out too. This part right here is not great. Something to avoid as much as possible. You have both this guy Boris, who was inside of the suit, and the Hulk standing on the bottom panel border. The borders around the panel, think of them as window frames. And what's happening inside of that panel is we're seeing it through that framework. So if something's happening off the side of the panel, we can't see it because it's off the side of the window, we can't see. So when you put something on here, it works as if this is flat. There's no longer, like, this guy is in front of, the window is in front of him. We know because I just described it. It's overlapping. This border is overlapping the parts of this guy in the front, so we can't see them all. However, the Hulk is on the exact same level, and it flattens that out. Now, this is all at the same depth as this white space below it, and it just reads strangely. So you always want to avoid putting your character's feet, hands, etc. on those panel borders like it's the ground. It's not the ground. This is the ground out here, and if you want to create depth, you need to move that back just a little bit. Also, this leg is jacked up in terms of the muscle and what's going on. There's a hamstring. There's some sort of back of the knee thing. There's an attempt at a calf. There's no, like, heel. It all comes down into one big mush. Basically, what I think it looks like happened here is it was being drawn, and he went, uh-oh, I'm at the bottom of the panel. And instead of just putting the foot off panel, which is not a good thing either, I'll get into that another time, he just kind of squished it up, and it doesn't work either way. Best thing to do would have been to just move the Hulk back a little by moving him up the page so that he's more in line with maybe where Rick Jones is standing. Let's see here. Again, the Russians, you have this supersonic weapon, and a ship that looks like a spaceship that isn't, a fully a robot body, armor, but they want the Hulk. Okay. So they use the sound, and the Hulk escapes by tunneling under the ground and then reaching up through the spaceship to grab the guy. But he realizes it's all just fakery. It's like movie props added to a kind of a plane, to a Russian plane. So now the Russians are going to take Rick captive, and the Hulk is mad at him. And this is where I went. My notes here just go, wow, melty Hulk. I don't know what happened. This Hulk face looks like it is melting. He's supposed to be mad, but the eyebrows don't arch like up to down. It's just flat. And so it loses. It just looks like he's just melty. Probably it's right up there with one of the worst Hulk faces we've seen so far. This is a big miss, and which is too bad too, because it's in a close up. This is where you want to really nail it. Like, this one is good, and I like this pose of him leaping down onto the page again. That's really nice there. I think that's good stuff. That one is just rough. So Hulk defeats the Russians. The military comes. They find everything was a big hoax, and somehow decide to blame it on the Hulk, because the Hulk has shown that he has the capacity to build fully robotic suits that could hide a normal person, and somehow got his hands on a Russian plane, a Russian MiG, which is a Russian fighter plane, and dressed it up like a spaceship. Okay. Apparently the Metropolitan Herald must be owned also by J. Jonah Jameson, like the Daily Bugle, because they're crazy. So anyway, comes back. Bruce Banner changes back, and there we go. And now we are into an era of Bruce can change whenever he wants and is trying to be a hero. So there we go. There's the issue. Let's cut back over to the desk. So that is the Incredible Hulk number 4. There's a lot of stuff that's really good. I complained a lot in the previous issue with some of the inking. I thought some of it was a little rushed or hurried. Obviously, the workload that Jack Kirby and Dick Ayers were doing, I could see why. Again, we're 4 issues in, so there was a lot of inconsistencies with how characters are drawn, especially the Hulk. We saw that some here as well, though. Again, I keep mentioning we're dialing it in. We're really starting to get this on model, if you will. So that's a big improvement there. I thought overall the art was much better in this issue. I didn't care for, like I said, the split between the chapters. I don't know that it's needed. But overall, the overall story works well. We've set a lot of plot threads in motion that we can follow up on. Betty is trying to figure out the connection between Rick, Bruce, and the Hulk. General Ross is developing new weapons to stop the Hulk. We've got this transition from Hulk from monster, rampaging monosyllabic monster, to Bruce, kind of a rough, tough Bruce in superhero shorts. So it's an interesting transition. I would give this a 6 out of 10 in terms of my rating. I think it's a pretty good book. It's a definite improvement over the last issue, and I think we're going to continue to see even more improvement as we move forward. So that's my take on the Incredible Hulk number 4. Thank you for sticking with me on this one. I know it was a long video, but it's been exciting. There's a lot to cover. And again, if you are a new, or I say new, or younger artist starting out and you want to draw comics, these are great things for you to go back and study. Yes, we would do things a lot differently now, from page design to the level of detail that we use, computer coloring, computer inking, all this kind of stuff is there to improve what we do. But the basics are here. Your storytelling, your pacing, page turns, perspective, how you use those to create an exciting story about an exciting character. All the bases are right here. All the building blocks are in these early comics, and I highly recommend you check these out so you can learn them too. Thanks so much for spending your time with me. Don't forget to subscribe. 1,000 subscribers. We're on our way. We need you. Thank you so much. I'll see you here next week for more Incredible Hulk. Thanks.